Tonight, the Alabama Crimson Tide, looking to fine-tune for the SEC Gymnastics Championship, take on the LSU Tigers. Dee Bro's team has struggled this year, but a win over the Tide in the PMAC would help the cause. It's Alabama and LSU on the mats.
Mississippi State wins. Go, Rebels! Here comes the ball. Go!
The Maravich Assembly Center is the scene this week for SEC Gymnastics as the LSU Tigers host the Crimson Tide of Alabama. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Corey Kessler. We have another great matchup in the SEC on the mats. The LSU Tigers have struggled recently, already lost 2 matches in the conference, and that may have started last year at the SEC Championships. With more on the answers to that and much more on the LSU Tigers, let's send it over to my partner, Lori Strong-Ballard.
Well, Corey, this meet will be a huge test for both Alabama and LSU. But for the Tigers, this could be a turning point, a chance to prove they're still in the game. LSU had a roller coaster ride season last year, at times being ranked #1 in the country, and then narrowly missing the SEC title and failing to qualify to the Super 6 final. Now, a slow start this season made many question whether or not the Tigers had lost their fight.
We peaked very early in the season last year. Compared to this year, we had a rough start this year. We're just now starting to build up to those 197s and hitting 24 for 24. So we're really not looking at this season as, oh my gosh, we're not doing as good as we did last year, because it really doesn't matter till that last meet, till regionals and nationals, and that's when you want your best meet.
Each week we've improved, and we still haven't had our best meet, with really putting all the pieces together as a team, and we're working on that and still getting there, but each week we are definitely progressing.
But in recent weeks, LSU's been putting up some big numbers and building momentum. Dee, can this team put the disappointments of last year behind them and step it up for a big win tonight?
Well, there's maybe 5 kids on this team that really are carrying that around with them, and I think we're over it. I think they're focused on this year and trying to overcome some adversities that we've created for ourselves right now.
Well, you boast one of the most decorated gymnasts in the conference with April Burkholder, 2-time SEC Gymnast of the Year, and 23 all-around crowns to her name. What will she bring to this team?
Well, she brings confidence, and she exudes confidence when she competes, and she just is consistent. She does a great job, day in and day out, and she tries to give that to her teammates.
Now, you guys are one of the top floor teams in the country, with Kelly Phelan impressively in that #1 position. With that being the final rotation tonight, will it be a key event?
I'm hoping it will. Let's hope it comes down to the last person on both these 2 events, and I think it'll be a great competition.
Well, good luck tonight. Corey, we're looking forward to some great gymnastics from 2 very top SEC teams.
Thanks, Lori. Meanwhile, the Alabama Crimson Tide preparing for their side and what they can offer at this meet tonight. Let's send it over to Natalie Taylor with Sarah Patterson.
Thanks, Corey. Alabama is a perennial powerhouse in this conference with a hefty target on their back. But Coach Patterson, you've already won 1 here at the PMAC, Super 6 challenge earlier in the season. What's it going to take to make it 2?
Well, I think we have to hit all our routines. I think the competition in the SEC is so tough that I think it comes down to you have to hit your routines, then you have to go to balance beam, and we'll have to be on to hit our routines in order to win. And I think that's just life in the SEC.
Speaking of a tough SEC, you've also had a tough schedule. 5 consecutive meets, then a well-deserved bye week. How has your schedule been able to prepare you to come into tonight's meet?
Well, I think our schedule is one that's designed to help us contend for the national championship at the end. I feel like we go against the best teams, whether it's in the conference or the non-conference. So tonight is just another preparation for the SEC championships and the NCAAs.
Well, Corey, sounds like tonight should be a good one. Back up to you.
Thanks, Natalie. Coach Sarah Patterson, happy to have the birthday girl. Ashley Miles turns 21 tonight. The senior tries to lead the Crimson Tide. Meanwhile, for the LSU Tigers, it's junior Kelly Phelan, #1 in the country in the floor exercise. The LSU Tigers and the Alabama Crimson Tide, we're getting geared up here at the PMAC. Come back and join us in just a minute. Welcome back to the Pete Maravich Assembly Center in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The Alabama Crimson Tide and the LSU Tigers. Let's take a look at the lineups as the Alabama fans looking on in the PMAC. Cassie Martin, the freshman, Courtney Prize, and Ashley Miles, the senior, looking to lead this team. Lori, as well as Dana Folletti, and then Taryn Humphrey. And we start off with Ashley Miles, the senior. So much confidence and poise for the senior, the All-American. It's a special day for Ashley, and she's here to tell us exactly why.
I mean, I've heard people say magical things happen when sports, you combine sports and birthdays, so hopefully tonight will be one of those nights.
Maybe we'll see a perfect 10?
Oh, we'll see. I'll try.
And how special that would be on her 21st birthday, Lori. She's done it before.
Scoring a perfect 10 is truly a magical thing, but her best chances of getting that perfect score will come later in this competition on floor and vault, where she has been a national champion. Starting off on bars with Shaposhnikova. Here comes her tough release element right here. It's a Hindorf. That is the one skill that she missed against Georgia earlier this season. Tonight she is on. Beautiful handstand position. Just the dismount, giant full. Double layout, comes off a little bit low and flat. Has to take the step on the landing. But she hits that release element. Ashley has been in and out of this bar lineup all season because she's had some shoulder injury problems. She goes for this release move so aggressively that makes it big and high and very impressive, but also a little risky. Huge chance of her missing that element.
So out of a 10, she scores a 9.825 on the bars. And as you see on vault, LSU coming up. Terry Gibson, Kelly Phelan, Nikki Butler, Emily Ellison, April Burkholder, the 9-time All-American on the vault. But this is Nikki Butler, Lori.
Before the athletes compete, they have a 3.5-minute team toucher, 2 vaults right before the event begins, and Nikki just nailed her vault in the warm-up. Can she do it again? Yes! Really looking for that landing, and she holds on to it nice and tight.
Yep, she stuck that landing, Lori. So out of a 10, let's see what they give Nikki Butler for the LSU Tigers.
This is one of those vaults that scored out of a 10. It's a very popular vault in the college competitions. Yurchenko layout full, almost looks like she's going to come in a little bit short, but she does a good job of pulling the arms out, bending the knees to absorb the power.
For the Alabama Crimson Tide, Melanie Banville on bars, Lori.
Melanie brings so much talent to this team, one of Alabama's fantastic freshmen. You know, about half of Alabama's routines have come from their 8-member freshman class. Such a young team doing so well. Toe on, giant full to Kachev, not a problem. Straddle back in handstand, toe on, back up to the high bar. She hits another handstand. Of course, at this point in the season, you want to hit the details like those stuck landings. Great routine for Alabama from Melanie Banville.
A 9.875. It seems like both teams are very focused on sticking the landings, Lori.
Well, that was Alabama's first stick of the night, and landings are crucial this year with a 10th deduction coming for every step. That's up to a half a point deduction per event. That's huge, especially in an intense competition like this.
So a nice routine by Melanie Banville, a member of the 2004 Canadian Olympic team, and from one Olympian to another Olympian, it's Taryn Humphrey, the United States Olympian for the Bama Tide, and for LSU, it's April Burkholder taking her reps on the vault. We'll be back to find out how she does in just a minute. Welcome back to the PMAC, LSU and the Alabama Crimson Tide. We start off with Emily Ellis, who comes back from a broken arm last year, sat out almost half the season, Lori. Let's see if that has any ill effect on her in her routine here on the vault.
Well, Emily has been very consistent for the Tigers this year and coming on strong lately. Big time vaulter here, Yurchenko half front layout, amazing landing.
Wow. So out of a 10, a 9.950 for Emily Ellis. Obviously no ill effects from that broken arm she suffered last year.
Not a problem here. A little bit scary on the landing. Take a look. She lands quite stiff with the knees. You have to be careful. You don't want to take too many landings like that. It's tough on the back and it can be tough on the knees, but without a doubt, that was a stuck landing. And of course, she's going to get the big score.
And of course, that'll help LSU's cause, but the Olympian, Taryn Humphrey, just a sophomore, tries to respond for the Crimson Tide on bars.
And talk about some accolades on this event. The Olympic silver medalist, NCAA champion, and she's won 6 out of 7 titles on this event this year. Nice combination work into a Horkina release move. Taryn does a great job in finishing all of her pirouette work in the handstand position. Bail to handstand there. Again, hitting another handstand. The details are very nice. Just the landing now, and nope, she has to take a step.
So a deduction for that, Lori, on the landing, a 9.850 for the silver medalist, Taryn Humphrey, one more time.
Scored out of a 10, so there is a 10.5 deductions taken throughout this routine. 1/10 was taken for the step on the landing. She did an excellent job, again, with the details, hitting the handstands, so there's really not a lot of deductions taken within the routine.
So after the first rotation, the bar scores for Alabama. Melanie Banville, the best score so far, 9.875. The overall cumulative score after the first rotation, you see 49.025. Now we go to the 9-time All-American for LSU, April Burkholder on vault. Skip Bertman on the left-hand side of your screen, the LSU athletic director, 5 national titles as manager of the baseball team, Lori.
You think that's making her a little nervous as she heads down for her vault? Yurchenko layout full, overpowers it a little bit, does have to take that step back, a mandatory 1/10 deduction.
So a 9.825 for April.
April is an aggressive and very quick-twitched athlete, which helps on this event, but she needs to learn how to really take that power and push it up into the air to stall the rotation so she doesn't over-rotate and have to take that step on the landing. She can potentially score a perfect 10 on this vault.
Well, Lori, because of 2 landing deductions, they had 2 low scores to start, but the rest of the team builds up momentum. LSU with a cumulative score after the first rotation of 49.075. So that means LSU has a slight lead after the first rotation. We'll be back here at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center to see if Alabama can respond. LSU with a slight lead here at the PMAC over the Alabama Crimson Tide. More than 2,500 fans on hand to watch the SEC meet of the week. LSU's lineup on bars. Some of the most consistent athletes for this LSU team, Kelly Phelan and April Burkholder, in this event will also be competing in the all-around. And Lisa Rennie, who is a bar specialist, Lori.
Excellent bar and beam worker, but first we're going to see Kelly Phelan. She's been really working hard to upgrade her difficulty on this event. She has a new release move planned. She struggled with it during warm-up. We'll see if they decide to keep it in the routine. Here it comes right now. It's a full twisting to Tkachev, and she misses it. You see Philip Ogletree moving the landing mat there. He stood behind the bar to spot her so that she would not hit the low bar if she were to miss that very difficult release element. It's an E-level skill. She gets 2/10 of bonus just for that difficult element. And it's quite technically complicated. She needs to come back strong here. Try to salvage somewhat of a score for the Tigers. A little bit short on her last handstand. Oops, stepping in just in case, over-rotates the double layout dismount. Again, that dismount is new difficulty for Kelly. She knows that if she wants to be competitive in the all-around and on this event, that she has to add those difficult elements. It's very complicated. It has a full twist. You can see there. She wants to initiate the half, pop off the high bar with another half twist as she sits up and catches. She simply was not technically strong on that release move.
Coach Dee Dee Bro offering her encouragement, a 9.3. We'll see if Alabama can take advantage on vault. Caitlin White, Taryn Humphrey, the Olympian, Melanie Banville, and Ashley Miles as well, the senior who they rely so heavily on. Here is Dana Folletti for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Competing the Yurchenko-style vault, a half front layout, amazing extension in the air, and take a look at that landing. You know, up until this point in the first rotation, both teams gave away so much on landing airs. And now Dana comes back and with an exclamation point just absolutely nails this vault solid, no movement. Very disciplined in that landing position. Excellent job.
You could see it in her smile, Lori. She knew she stuck the landing as soon as she hit. As for the LSU Tigers, see if they can respond. This is Emily Ellis.
With already one fall, very important for Emily to get this team back on track. Phillips stepping in, here's the release move. Doesn't have to spot at all on that sky-high Tkachev.
Says she likes to compete against Alabama the most in competition.
Pretty much say most of these athletes really enjoy those intense, high-level competitions. It really challenges them, and that's why they're competing in this sport. Giant full double tuck dismount, and there's a clean landing.
Nice landing for Emily Ellis.
Emily is having a fantastic night. Remember, she already scored that 995 on vault where she absolutely nailed that blind landing. And here, a very good job. Here's the sky-high Tkachev, several feet above that high bar. Beautiful swing and control out of it, and she did a great job in her pirouette work, finishing every half turn in that handstand position.
So a 9.825. You know, LSU has had a problem earlier in the season and even last year holding a lead. We'll see if they can hold that lead throughout this meet. Here is Brittany McGee, the freshman for Bama on vault.
An impressive vaulter, so powerful, beautiful height. But again, we'll take the deductions on the landing. She knows it. I talked to her before this event about competing on the same team as the national champion, Ashley Miles. She says it's quite an honor, and she's learning so much from Ashley. She says she knows she can get the big scores, but she has to get those landings.
So some of the landings falling by the wayside as we move along in the meet, Lori. LSU still holds a slight advantage, and their most consistent and their leader, the 9-time All-American April Burkholder, will try to keep the Tigers in front. Meanwhile, the Alabama Crimson Tide will counter with the #1 vaulter in America, that girl, Ashley Miles. LSU maintaining a slight lead, and they'll rely heavily on April Burkholder, their team leader, the 9-time All-American, on bars.
You know, ideally, every routine you compete should be the same as the one that you train every day in the gym. But realistically, you can't deny that these athletes feel the pressure when one of their teammates have already missed and they're going up against one of the top teams in the country. April needs to hit here.
Of course, Kelly fell earlier.
Missing a handstand there on the low bar, but April covers up nicely with a switch kip. A little bit short on that last handstand. Again, looking for a clean landing. Takes the step, a little bit under-rotated on her double layout dismount. Not the perfect performance that April is always striving to get. Here's the pack salto down to the low bar. She had hoped on this handstand to go over to the other side of the bar with a half turn, but she's short. Not enough momentum. She covers it up with a switch kip. Maybe a small deduction there for a break in rhythm, but a definite deduction on the landing as well.
So trying to make up for the fall earlier in the meet, April comes up with a 9.775. Meanwhile, the Alabama Crimson Tide with Ashley Miles, the #1 competitor in vault in the entire nation, Lori.
So impressive on this event. She's 5'8", and that makes this vault look so much more explosive and higher than anyone else in her competition. Same vault we just saw Brittany McGee perform, the Yurchenko layout full, and again she takes a hop on the landing. She must nail that to get those high 9.995s.
So not her best, but a 9.850.
Take a look at the height, way above the vaulting table, huge distance. So there's not a problem technically, there's not a problem in terms of her execution and height. It all comes down to the landing for Ashley Miles.
So after the second rotation, Dana Folletti has the best score, 9.875 in vault. Ashley right behind, cumulative score 49.050. Seems like they're not sticking the landings like they did earlier in the meet as we move through the competition. This is Lisa Rennie. She is a specialist on bars, just a junior.
Mounts with the release element, toe on Shaposhnikova. From the low bar to the high bar. Lisa is known for her combination work. A lot of pirouettes. She's looking to finish them. The half turn in handstand position. A little soft in her body in her handstand position. She almost always sticks that landing. Not a problem tonight.
She stuck that landing. You said it. She's a specialist, and she showed why.
Beautiful start to the routine with the toe on Shaposhnikova. I have seen Lisa perform this routine with a little bit more extension and a little bit more crispness in all of her handstands and pirouette work.
So for the junior from Las Vegas, a 9.850. That should help keep the LSU Tigers with a slim lead. After the second rotation on bars, Nikki Butler and Lisa Rennie, who you just saw, tied with a 9.850. 49.075 is the cumulative score. So the LSU Tigers, the fans are cheering because their team holds a slim lead over the Alabama Crimson Tide after two rotations. LSU holding a slim lead after two rotations over the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome back to the Maravich Assembly Center. Corey Kessler, Lori Strong-Ballard, and Natalie Taylor bringing you the SEC Meet of the Week. There are some Tide fans here, even though we're in Baton Rouge. The floor routine with the lineup for Alabama. You see Taryn Humphrey, the Olympian, Ashley O'Neal, Brittany McGee, just a freshman, as is Melanie Banville and Ashley Miles as well. This is the freshman, Brittany McGee, on the floor.
And remember, Alabama comes in here after a 1 week rest, and that's a good thing for Alabama. It allowed them to rest their bodies, and especially for the young athletes like Brittany, to take that time to break up the routines and start to work on just the parts and then build the routines back up. These young athletes like Brittany aren't used to competing every single weekend. Opening huge with a half in, half out. Sometimes it's nice to be able to have that luxury to take a step back, analyze the routines, perfect the parts individually, and then put them back together in competition-ready routines. Two whips, big difficulty here into a double pike. Nice job. Very strong on the leaps, a switch leap, Utershite half. The athletes gain bonus points not only through their tumbling skills, but also through their leaps and jumps.
It's got a nice beat to it.
Showing off her choreography, and it is important to work with the music, to play up to the music, and to have the music play up to your own character. Finishing huge with an E-level skill, front double twist. Opening with an E, finishing with an E, solid landings. You really don't get much better difficulty across the country than this routine from Brittany. Take a look at this middle skill, so difficult. Two whips. She's a little bit high here on the back handspring, but she's so athletic, she's able to pull out a huge double pike and a solid landing.
So as the Crimson Tide try to overtake the Tigers, a 9.9 for Brittany McGee, just a freshman. That has to help their effort. Meanwhile, the LSU Tigers will counter on beam. You see Christina Sir there. She's already fallen on beam, putting pressure on the rest of this group. Here's Kelly Phelan, who has already fallen on bars. Hopefully she can respond for the Tigers on beam.
Huge mental comeback for Kelly. And remember, the Tigers have a slim lead, only .075, so that just increases the pressure on these athletes on balance beam. With 5 more hits, they can drop Christina's fall.
Oh.
And LSU has another huge miss. That means that they will be forced to count a routine with a fall. A 5/10 deduction, plus she loses credit for the difficulty of that element. Uncharacteristic fall from Kelly. Usually a very stable and consistent performer for LSU. Big difficulty there, front tuck, back handspring, swing down. The balance beam is only 4 inches wide. If you are off by just a centimeter, you will be on the floor with a 5/10 deduction versus on floor exercise or vault, you can take that step and only lose a 1/10. So mistakes are crucial on balance beam. When you're under so much pressure on this event, it's so difficult to stick to your technique and be aggressive. She really needed to push through her legs and stay straight down the balance beam in this triple flight series. Obviously, she was crooked and off with a 5/10 deduction.
2 falls today for Kelly, so much riding on her shoulders. Feels like she let her team down a 9.275, but she can still offer a lot on floor as we see Melanie Banville, the freshman for Bama.
Opening with an E level, full and back out in the piked position.
I like that beat, Lori. Do, 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 do.
Performing a triple toe turn as well, getting a 10th bonus in her dance elements. Front full, front layout. It's hard to believe that Melanie really is only a freshman. She looks so secure and confident in her gymnastics. To remember though, she comes and brings to Alabama a lot of experience competing at the 2004 Olympic Games for Canada and many international meets as well.
Canadian Gymnast of the Year in 03-04.
Nice mix of music throughout this routine, and she does a great job in terms of moving her body and really working all of those sound effects into her choreography. Last pass, double pike, just pounds out the landing, big finish. A strong routine for Alabama. They are coming on.
A 9.825, and with Kelly's fall previously for LSU, Melanie's effort on floor has to help the Tide possibly take the lead.
Sarah talks about her 1-2-3 punch at the end of this floor lineup with 2 freshmen, Brittany scoring a 9.9. Now a big routine from Melanie, and they can top it off strong with an Ashley Miles still to come.
Meanwhile, for the home team, Dee Bro knows she needs a big effort from her team leader, April Burkholder, and the Alabama Crimson Tide relying on Ashley Miles to keep the momentum rolling. LSU forced to take a 9.275 because of 2 falls in the meet today. Will rely heavily here on April Burkholder, the All-American.
Starting off with huge difficulty in the mount, a round-off layout. April anchors this event for them. It's almost a badge of honor in gymnastics to be the anchor. That means you're the big gun, you're the top scorer, and April is handling the pressure amazingly. Spring layout, and a ring jump there. Like every event, we're seeing April's signature aggressive style. Side summy, holds on to it, slight wobble.
Find it interesting, she says that her dream is to be a shopper for celebrities, shopping for a good score right here, Lori.
Just the dismount. And she's not watering down at all. Under pressure, huge competition, so much on the line, and she pulls out the big difficulty with that double back dismount.
And if you don't think this meet means something to these athletes, you could see by that expression after her dismount, she knew it was solid. She was enthused by it.
So important for her to get the job done for the team. She started out with big difficulty with the round-off layout and kept it going to the end with the E-level dismount.
So a 9.875 for Dee Bro's go-to girl, April Burkholder, on beam. So after the third rotation for LSU, April has the best score on beam, followed there closely by a couple of her fellow teammates, a 48.475 cumulative score on beam. And here is Ashley Miles on the floor. You see her top score is 9.950. One of the best in the country, Lori.
Absolutely looking for those great things to happen on her 21st birthday. A possible 10 here. She's capable.
She's done it before.
Opening with one of the toughest skills in this competition, a double layout. Almost a little short, but so quick to get those arms up, covers up the landing. Not a single 10 has been awarded yet this season. Athletes are forced to be absolutely perfect to get rewarded with that perfect 10.
Of course, she had a 10 last year in this event.
Great job in showing off her confident personality throughout her choreography.
Of course, many in the audience, when it was Alabama against Georgia a few weeks ago, felt she could have gotten a 10 with her floor exercise, the last performer of the night.
Oop, a little seep drop there, showing off that character. Deep breath, final tumbling pass. The routine is a minute and a half long, so strenuous in terms of endurance. Double pike, sky high. Gets the job done for the Tide. The Tide are really picking up momentum now.
A 9.875 for Ashley. The fans appreciate it. You can hear the chants. Over 2,500 here in the PMAC.
A couple small deductions throughout this routine, including the opening pass, a little shorter rotation on the double layout. And then take a look at her dance elements right here. A cat double full. She wants to complete both twists. You can see that she cheats the landing just slightly there, about a half a tenth deduction.
But you can see Ashley had so much fun, a 9.875. Not the top score for Alabama on the floor. Taryn Humphrey has that distinction, 49.300, a cumulative score after the third rotation. So here at the PMAC in Baton Rouge, the Crimson Tide have taken the lead over the home team. Welcome back to the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. The Tide, rolling with momentum, have overtaken the home team, LSU Tigers. And Alabama looking for some consistency on the beam. They will lead off with their freshman who's been sensational tonight, Brittany McGee, and they will be anchored by Taryn Humphrey, who, by the way, leads the all-around competition at this point after 3 rotations.
Yeah, we talked about the prestige of anchoring a lineup. Well, first up on beam has extra special meaning as well. Usually that spot is saved for the most confident and consistent beam worker. It's a huge compliment for Brittany, who's only a young freshman. And this is not a conservative routine by any means. It's packed with huge difficulty. Concentrating before her tumble series here. Gainer, back handspring with one arm to a layout. Front aerial. Excellent job on her landing. Even the required elements, her full turn has extra special difficulty doing it with her leg above horizontal. Switch leap, nice extension, full split. Good execution of the wolf jump.
She really has been sensational throughout the entire meet tonight, Lori.
So confident. Front tuck, solid. That's a D-level skill. I don't believe I've seen a single wobble from Brittany. Just the dismount, huge double back, just a tiny step, the only mistake of the routine.
So that should certainly help the Tide sustain the slight edge they have over the LSU Tigers.
Unfortunately, one of the things you sometimes sacrifice with being the first up competitors, sometimes the scores are a little bit tight when you're competing first up. Maybe later on this routine it could have gone 9-9, 9-9, 2-5, 9-8, 7-5, still a solid score for the Tide.
Yes, Lori, the freshman has certainly done her job, and Coach Sarah Patterson has to be pleased with her freshman score. Meanwhile, LSU countering on floor. The lineup, they are number 2 in the country, folks, in this event, and they also boast the number 1 performer on the floor exercise, and that is Kelly Phelan, who has not had the best meet thus far.
Most certainly an off night for Kelly. Unfortunately, even the greatest athletes falter now and then. On bars, though, I'd say it was a strategic mistake on a new skill for Kelly. Despite missing this full twisting Tkachev, a Shushinova in warm-up, the coaches felt it was important for her to still compete it, to give her that experience before the SEC championships. Now on beam, it was a different story. She missed a tumble series. She hits almost every single time in practice.
So with 2 falls, the team forced to take one of them as a counting score. That certainly hurt, but the number 1 performer in the country on floor is Kelly Phelan, who we just saw hasn't had the best meet. Maybe she can respond here, Lori, and bring her team back into the lead.
Well, as the number 1 floor performer in the country, she certainly has her best chance to make things right for this LSU team. We talked about her upgrading difficulty on the other event. She's done that as well here, opening with a front double twist to a front tuck. That's new, and it was strong tonight.
There's some rhythm.
Despite being down and a little off tonight, she's still able to come out and perform on this event. That's important. That shows she's a competitor.
I like her choice of music. Certainly could lift anyone's spirits.
One thing that LSU does a very good job of is choosing music that not only the athletes enjoy, but that their fans enjoy as well. Front layout full, front tuck full, strong third tumbling pass. A mental comeback for Kelly, a strong floor team.
She needed that, her team needed that, and she came through when the chips were down on her evening.
Kelly had personality and a good variety of tumbling, showing off front and backward tumbling, including this E-level front double twist to an immediate punch front. She also gets connection bonus for that tumbling pass.
And you have to expect it, Lori. The number 1 performer in the entire country, a 9.825 for Kelly. That'll certainly help her LSU Tigers, but the final performer for the Alabama Crimson Tide is the Olympian Taryn Humphrey when we come back. Welcome back to Baton Rouge. The final performer for Alabama is Taryn Humphrey, who has already put together 3 solid routines, Lori.
Taryn took some time off this summer for the first time in her long career. She did get a little bit out of shape, but now mid-season she's really coming back to her top form, showing off her brilliant bar routine where she's the national champion. And of course on vault, a new vault for her, a Yurchenko layout full, took a hop on the landing, but a strong score towards her all around. And on floor, most spectacular tonight, opening with that double Arabian with one final event to go. She has a great opportunity to pick up the all-around win here.
And trying to keep the momentum rolling for the Tide on the beam.
Opening with a triple turn. It's a signature element original to her, and it's called the Humphrey. So spectacular. Quite a crowd pleaser, even at away competitions.
When an athlete creates a move unique to them, it is named after them.
Yes, they must compete it at a World Championships or an Olympic Games, which Taryn did. It was named after her in the official code of points. I have to mention Taryn's tumble series, which we just saw. Full twisting back handspring layout, huge difficulty, and that was the tumble series that she missed against Georgia. You see her getting her form back again, feeling that confidence, showing it off in her gymnastics. Three-quarter twisting back handspring, showing a stable handstand in a split position. April Burkholder from LSU is her closest competitor in the all-around, and April still has floor to come. So Taryn knows the importance of hitting this event, not only for the all-around title, but for the team as well. This is going to be a good score for the Tide.
That'll keep her in the hunt for the all-around title, like you mentioned, if the judges agree with a solid effort on beam.
Here's Taryn's original mount, named the Humphrey, a triple turn. So important to gain enough momentum and keep the balance through all three turns. And of course, she showed off solid, consistent difficulty with this front tuck. Nice and square and a big finish.
And what do the judges have to say? A 9.875. So Taryn and Brittany with the top scores after the fourth rotation on beam. That's going to help their team's effort, a 49.050 cumulative score. With the LSU Tigers, they have April Burkholder, the leader of this team, and two-time SEC Gymnast of the Year, who has also had a fine meet, Lori.
April, without a doubt, has some of the best gymnastics in the country. So quick and aggressive on vault, but she does take that hop. Tonight, April on bars was not as crisp and as clean as she is when she's at her best. But big-time players come up with big-time performances on beam in the crunch. April came through with a top performance for her team.
And now, Lori, April moves to the floor exercise, where she has a special treat for everyone in the audience or watching on television.
Tonight, I put together a different routine just for tonight to dedicate to New Orleans, because it's, around Mardi Gras and school's back in, so I just wanted to do something to tribute to them, and it's just for tonight.
A brand new routine, new music, new choreography. Tell me about it.
Well, it's kind of a blend of, different New Orleans music. It has jazz, Zydeco, the Mardi Gras stuff, some hip-hop, just a lot of, it's about 10 songs blended together from New Orleans. There's some Bob Marley in there, because I know a lot of people from New Orleans like him a lot.
All those artists she talked about with the Louisiana flavor. I'm really looking forward to this. Personally, I grew up in New Orleans. Lori, I know you've lived there for a while. So many people affected by Katrina.
The common feeling seems to be, enough, Katrina. It's time to move on. And this is April's contribution to reviving everyone's spirits. I lived there for 4 years. My husband's family has lived there for many years. And I tell you one thing, Louisianians are resilient and they're faithful, and everyone is getting behind this rebuilding effort. Coming straight off Mardi Gras, this is very familiar music. Plenty of spirit in the Pete Maravich Center tonight.
Makes me want to say, throw me something, mister, from a float riding in Mardi Gras.
Twist, front layout, holds it in bounds.
There's your Bob Marley rendition. And remember, Lori, this is also important because she still has a chance at the all-around, and her team needs a solid performance in order to win the overall competition.
Take a look at this final tumbling pass, front layout, half, front tuck. It's not done yet. Huge double back finish. Amazing. what an amazing contribution by April. It's going to be a big score for this team. What a way to top off a night.
Not only do the LSU teammates appreciate that, a solid effort, but everyone watching has to appreciate, as you said, Lori, she choreographed it, and all in dedication to those affected by Hurricane Katrina.
I can't tell you enough how difficult this is to be able to re-choreograph a brand new routine to new music. It usually takes an athlete months to perfect their choreography and their music, and then of course finishing with such difficulty in this final tumbling pass. She goes forward with the front layout, then the front layout half, punch front, and she's still not done. Talk about endurance. Dee Dee was worried about this team being fatigued, but there was a little extra emotionally for April in this performance.
And she came into this performance slightly trailing Taryn Humphrey in the all-around competition. Will that score help? A 9.925 after the fourth rotation, the final athlete in this meet. You see the overall score, 49.225. The Crimson Tide have won this meet here at the Maravich Assembly Center. Let's send it down to Lori with the winning coach.
Thanks, Corey. Coach, you kept the winning streak alive here at the PMAC, 2 for 2 against LSU. What did you think of the performance tonight?
Well, I thought we looked a little rusty in some areas. We need to work some more on our landings, and you could tell we'd had a stressful week, and really we practiced not quite as well as we performed tonight, so I'm hoping that we can go back in and really work on things, not be quite so tired in practice this week, and improve.
Well, congratulations, a big win tonight. We'll see you at SECs. Over to you, Corey.
So Alabama has won the overall competition, but what about the all-around results? Taryn Humphrey wins the all-around competition. April Burkholder, a fine effort, comes in second. Let's send it down to Natalie Taylor with Taryn.
Thanks, Corey. Taryn Humphrey, second all-around title of the season. Taryn, coming into the PMAC can be a very intense place, but you were able to still stick all your routines. Were you intimidated by the atmosphere?
I don't think so. You know, we've been away from home before, so we know how other schools act and how they want us to do. But I still have a lot of fun in LSU, and the crowd's awesome, and our crowd's better, but no, we have a lot of fun here.
Well, you know, it comes down to the last event on beam. You had a fall before you took over. Pretty much you had to nail your routine in order for Alabama to get the win. What was going through your mind when you took over?
I was just thinking that it's just another routine and just not to be nervous and go up there and do my job and hit my routine like I came here to do and just pick up the team.
Well, Taryn's mindset worked once again, all-around champ. Corey, back up to you.
Thanks, Natalie. The visiting team, Crimson Tide, take it here at the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. We'll see you in 2 weeks from the site of the SEC Championships in Birmingham.